conics left over in my lunchbox. And
Where did you leave your backpack that you got ants in?
huh?
Where did you leave your backpack that you got ants in?
He's got ants in his pants.
Okay, so test is tomorrow. On the study guide, there are 16 questions, and that's how many are on the test too. However, there is one of the questions on the study guide that I'm not gonna, that is wrong. They did it wrong. So I will not count that one against you on the test as well. So you'll end up only having the 15 questions. I'll tell you when we get there. So number one, they give you that equation. They ask you for a graph, and then they talk about some other stuff too.
Let me guess, 50?
No, it's not 15. Okay, so first thing we would notice here on number one is that it's gotta have a radius of 6, because 36 is equal to r squared, so we would say r squared is 36, so the square root of 36 is 6. So it's gotta have a radius of 6, which, there's nothing happening with the x and the y, so the center has to be at the origin, so you know it's gotta be either A or B. So now we just gotta figure out what all that other stuff is that it's talking about on A and B. So A says, let's just compare A and B. The first sentence is the same. The graph is a circle of radius 6. The graph is a circle of radius 6. Second sentence is the same. Its center is at the origin. Its center is at the origin. The third sentence is where the difference comes in. The third sentence on A says every line through the center is a line of symmetry. The third sentence on B says the y-axis and the x-axis are lines of symmetry. So what does a line of symmetry mean?
Something you can fold the shape over and it'll still be
Very
equal.
good, so we can fold it over and it's kinda like it's falls on top of itself, and so can we fold it over the y-axis? Yes. Can we fold it over the x-axis?
Mhm.
So it meets the criteria for B, but A says we can also draw any line through the origin. Could I fold it over that line?
Mhm.
Yep. So I could fold it over any line through the origin, so it would be A. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Alrighty, I'm gonna erase that and we'll get to a new page for number 2. Aiden, I generally let them use their study guide on the notes and how the test, this is form A, and so I printed a B, C, D, and an E. So you'll just have a different form of this. Alright, so number 2, we got some funny stuff going on. First off, you've got A and B are hyperbolas, C and D are ellipses. And this equation is kind of tricky to figure out which one it is. Y'all have thoughts on if this would be a hyperbola or an ellipse?
Ellipse, since it's got the same format as the circle formula does.
Well, the difference, they both gotta be set equal to 1. So we'll have to make that adjustment on the equation. The difference, what sets a hyperbola apart is that it's a subtraction problem. And so you have to be able to look here and see that I can rewrite this as that subtraction problem. So if I just switch the order on that, 12y squared minus 3x squared equals 84, that's what's gonna give you the hyperbola. So it's gonna be either A or B. So let's go ahead now. Both of those in your notes are set equal to 1, so we would have to divide everything by 84. Okay, so 12 over 84, that reduced to 1/7. So I had y squared over 7. And y'all can check these, this is just what I did when I worked it out last week. 3 over 84 reduced to 1/28. So x squared over 28. And then 84 divided by 84 is 1. So there's your hyperbola, there's our equation. Now from there, we get the A and the B stuff. So our B is what's with the y. So square root of 7 would be your B. Square root of 28 would be your A. And you can break square root of 28 down, because that's the same as 4 times 7. Or 4 times 2 like a Goober, 4 times 7, and the square root of 4 is 2. So bring that 2 out, oops, come on, scrolly, bring that 2 out, so your A is 2 square roots of 7. Okay, so, we gotta figure out now the
Did you
diff-
say minus x squared over 28 equals 1?
I'm going back, I'm sorry, thought you were with us. Right, yes, y squared over 7 minus x squared over 28 equals 1. So now, we gotta figure out the difference between A and B. I think I probably just did a little bit more work than I needed to, didn't I? The graph is the same on both of them. So, we've got a hyperbola looking like that. So the difference is what the domain and the range are. So on A, it says the domain is all real numbers. Well, domain is your x's. That kinda looks like that, logo for that Western brand, Hui or whatever. You don't know the one? No.
Looks like a basketball.
Okay, so domain is my x, so this is gonna keep going forever to the left, and this is gonna keep going forever to the right. So the domain is all real numbers, so that's correct. B says the domain is between these square roots of 7s. Well, that doesn't even make sense at all, because those square roots of 7s are on the y, which is range, right? So it would have to be A. You okay, Christian? You've been preoccupied over there for a while.
Ant.
Well, I don't want you to bring the ants in here.
Okay,
Alright, number 3. Says identify the center and intercepts of the conic section and then find the domain and the range. So just give you an idea of what we're looking at. You've got it on your computer. So that point is at 0, 5. And then this point is at 0, -5. I just writing to you what I wrote on my paper as I worked it. This was the origin of the axis. The origin there is equidistant, so it's not scooted anywhere. It is centered on the origin. So let's just go through the choices and see what we can come up with. The center of the hyperbola is 0, 0. That's on all 4 of them, so can't eliminate anything with that. The y-intercepts are 0, 5 and 0, -5, so that's what A says. B says x-intercepts. Well, that's not on the x-axis, so you can mark B out. C's got the y-intercepts right. D, it says x-intercepts, so you can mark D out. So now we got a 50-50 shot. We're at A and C. A says the domain is all real numbers, and C says the domain is all real numbers, so we're still A and C. A says the range y is greater than -5 or less than 5. C says y, those have got equal lines underneath it too. C, the range says y is less than or equal to -5, or y is greater than or equal to 5. So, if I look down here at my point 0, -5, it's not gonna go any higher than that right there, so from there it's gonna keep going forever, down, which is smaller. So that one would have to look like that. Same thing up here, it's gonna keep going up forever, which is greater, so it would have to look like that, which would be choice, looking at that last sentence, choice C. Does that make sense? Well, I'm glad, because we're on number 4.
Okay, I'll write down 1 and 2.
Oh, boy. Christian?
All ones are sometimes.
Write an equation for a graph that is the set of all points in a plane that are equidistant from the point 6, 0, and the line x equals -6. Okay, so this is one of the first things that we did out of this unit. When you've got a point and a line and it's equidistance, that's talking about focus and directrix of a parabola. So you're gonna be writing a parabola equation on this. So what I did over on the side of mine is I put these two pieces of information they gave me. So I went over to 6, 0, and then I went to x is -6 and put that line. So that means that my parabola has to be, the vertex has to be equidistant between these. So halfway between 6 and -6 is at 0, 0. And I know my parabola has to envelop the focus. So my parabola would have to be going like that. A sideways parabola is always x equals, okay, so you're starting with that. And then we've got this in our notes, but you're gonna need to find this. This has been a while. 1/4p y squared. So we gotta figure out what our p is in this case. So I think it should be obvious to you that it's gonna be 6, but we just gotta figure out 6 or -6. Cause that could be either A or D. 6 times 4 is 24. So our P in this case is equal to -x, and you've got all this in your notes, but it's been a long time since we did this, like, that's what I'm trying to remind you. So I'm gonna plug, my x is -6, so the opposite of that would be 6, so it's just 4 times 6. So that would be my equation, which is A. Remember when we did those 1/4p's, we made some charts in our notes? Might need to look back and find those before tomorrow. Okay, 5, 6, and 7 all are involved in these parabolas. So 5 says write an equation of parabola with a vertex at the origin and a directrix at y equals 5. So we remember we always open away from the directrix. So it would have to go like that. So that's a vertical parabola, which is y equals 1/4p x squared. So what do you think our P is in this case? The directrix was y equals 5.
So it'd be negative.
So it would be -5, 4 times -5. And that is C.
Where would that be 5?
It told us in the question, the directrix was at y equals 5, that's this line here.
I was going after origin. That's why I said -0.
Well, I just ignored you when you said -0, so. Alright, number 6. Identify the focus and directrix of y equals -1/12 x squared. So this is just the opposite of what we've just been doing. So this has gotta be 4 times p. So 4 times what would get us a -12?
-3.
So we know we got a p of -3. Okay, so
3.
let's look here how this would look. So that means my directrix is the opposite of that.
25.
And then here's my focus. My parabola would go like that. So, let's see here what we got. A has got the focus right, but the directrix wrong. B has got the focus wrong. C has got the focus right and the directrix right. Ding, 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 winner, winner, chicken dinner.
That was number 6.
Yes, sirree.
Got it right.
Alright, number 7. We got y equals 1/8 x minus 2 squared plus 5. Identify the vertex, focus, and directrix. Well, the vertex is easy because that comes from the HK. Remember, in with the X, you take the opposite sign, so it'll be 2K on the end is what it is on a parabola. So it's gotta have a vertex at 2, 5. There is only one choice that has that. So that one would have to be 80, is in the grade you're gonna make.
I like how I write an answer, then look at it, say, oh, that's wrong, change it, and then when we go over it.
You
it's
had
the
it.
original answer.
Yep. Okay, finally, we get off of parabolas on page 4, on number 8. Got an easy circle question. Write an equation with a center of a circle with a center at -5, -8, and a radius of 2. Okay, so you all right, Christian?
Would it be like x minus 5, y minus 8?
Almost.
It's almost like it's multiple choice.
Almost like you have options.
Remember in the original formula, it said x minus h squared plus y minus k squared, it was minus, so it was the opposite sign.
Oh, so it's x plus
Uh-huh.
2.
X plus 5, and y plus 8, and then r squared would be 4. So that is B is in Boomland. Alright, number 9, they give you the graph and ask you to do the same thing. So you have to be able to count and find the center of that circle. And it looks like to me on number 9 that it's at -1, -3. Okay, and you'll be able to zoom that in as much as you need to. And then you've got to count to find the radius. 1, 2 is the radius. So I'm gonna do the same thing I just did. X plus 1 squared plus y plus 3 squared is equal to 4. Which is, which one? Another B is in Boomland. Okay, the question 10 on the study guide, and there'll be one similar to that on your test tomorrow. I'm not gonna count it. It could be a really good question, but they didn't put the correct choice. What they did when they worked the problem is they used the diameter of 7,920 miles when they should have used the radius. So they should have worked that problem out, and it would be just like a normal circle problem, just writing an equation, but the radius would be half of that 7,920, and they didn't do that. So they squared the diameter, which is not right.
So bad.
So we'll just chunk that one out. Alright, on to 11. What are we doing here? Write an equation of an ellipse. So that's got to equal 1. It's got a vertex at -5, 0, and a co-vertex at 0, 4. Well, that's kind of weird, a co-vertex. We haven't really talked about that. But let's look here. If we've got a vertex at -5, 0, okay, that means we gotta also have one at 5, 0, and the reason I know that is because it tells me that the center's at the origin, so they gotta be equal distant, right? And then if I've got a co-vertex at 0, 4, I gotta also have one down here. So I'm looking, it's a beautiful ellipse.
So the AOS is not on 0. I'm guessing.
Say that again.
The axis of symmetry is on 0.
It is on 0. They told me that the center is at the origin. Yes. So what we have to do
That's
from,
an almond?
it's an ellipse. Quit making fun of my ellipse, Christian. What we have to be able to do is find our A and our B. So your A is the distance from your center to your x-intercept, and then your B is the distance to your y. So what we're looking at here if this is at 0, 5, so that would be x squared over 5 squared. So where's my marker? There it is, 5 squared. And if this is at 0, 4, that would be y squared over 4 squared. And we're equal to 1. So I didn't really even have to draw that. Maybe if I wouldn't have, Christian wouldn't have made fun of me.
Well, I saw
Me.
a 5 and I saw a 4, so I was thinking this side's a little shorter than the other side, so it's a 4. And the other side's a 5, so I was thinking it's scooted over.
And my picture kind of looks like that as well, but that's just because I drew it real fast and wasn't very neat.
You also seem a little bit more loopy than usual.
Yeah. All right, are you done with that one? We're going to 12, Christian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't sound sure about that.
Okay, so we're still an ellipse with the center at the origin on number 12. So this one, it gives you different info. It says our ellipse that's centered at the origin has a height of 12 units. So if I have a height, that means the total ellipse. So I would go up to 6 and down to 6. That would give me a height of 12, right? Okay. Then it tells me it has a width of 19. Well, that was a total width is 19. So when you have that, that would get us a 9.5 and a negative 9.5. Right? Christian's trying to do some mental math to see what 19 divided by 2 is. So, same deal. X squared over a squared. Well, my a is 9.5. When I squared 9.5, I got 90.25. Y'all can check me, I worked this last week. 6 squared. So that would be B.
I got 90.5.
When you square anything that's a half, it's a quarter. Because 5 times 5 is 25. Don't be trying to. Go to the last page, number 13.
Oh wait, what was number 10 again?
Oh my god.
Number what?
10.
10 we didn't do. It's the one
That's
that we did wrong.
Tyler.
That's true.
The key says, I think it's D, but that was using the wrong info. Okay, 13. Write an equation of a hyperbola. So, here's what we know about a hyperbola. It's got a minus sign. Okay, so write an equation of hyperbola with vertices at 3, -2 and 9, -2, and foci at 7, -2 and -13, -2. So what in the world? Vertices at 3, -2 and -9, -2. So let's look at something like that. So what we know is it's not centered at the origin, right? So we gotta figure out how many it was scooted over.
5.
Was that a legit or just a guess?
Yes.
It went from 3 here, didn't it? Yes. 3 here to -9 here.
4.
Your guesses are getting worse. You think there are 4 spaces between 3 and -9?
No.
Well, that's what you're trying to figure out. So then you can half that and put the origin there. What?
-6.
A distance is never negative,
It's 12.
okay?
I mean the point.
So between -9 and 3, there are 12 spaces. So we want to go halfway between that to the 6 that Christian was talking about. So from 3, if I backed up 6, where's that going to put me?
-3.
Okay. So, Now what about, up and down? These points here were both at -2 down. So that means you're gonna have a y plus 2 up there, right? Okay, so we got x minus what?
6.
No, you've got it for me on this point right here.
Plus 3.
Okay, so x plus 3 squared over something minus y plus 2, because it was scooted down 2 squared over something is equal to 1. So now we just gotta figure out those somethings, I think, because don't we have more, yeah, C and D both have it the same. So, how far, and y'all have already figured it out, how far is my center to the side?
5. 6.
6. So 6 squared is 36, because we did half of the 12. Okay, so what about how tall?
2.
Well, this one's kind of tricky.
Oh, 25.
8.
But why? You're right, it's 8, so 8 squared is
Well,
64.
I saw it on the study guide.
Well, that's always good
That's what I
test-taking
said.
skill. When you got everything on the left side right, it's gotta match up on the right side.
I just saw
Oh, because
red glitter.
of the square. You gotta count up that rectangle that we draw.
Yep, very good. We would have a
And-
rectangle with a diagonal on that, so it would be wherever that diagonal crossed through there. Very good on remembering the rectangle there, Tyler.
You drilled it into my brain when I forgot it. And now I remember it. It's like the quadratic formula, so. I
Alright,
never remember it until I think about it, and then I remember it.
14, we're getting there. Write an equation of ellipse. So same as we just looked at, except it's got a plus sign between them. Okay, write an equation of an ellipse with center at 3, 4. So that's gonna be your H and your K.
This one kinda confused me with the major axis and the minor axis.
Yeah, with center at 3, 4, a horizontal major axis of length 16. Okay, so horizontal length, that's here. So if it's telling you that that distance of that ellipse is 16,
8.
very good, it would be
Radius.
8 to the edge, so this would be 8 squared.
55.
Yep. And a minor axis length of 10, so that's telling you that it's 10 tall, so halfway would be 5, so 5 squared. Yep. Which is B. Is in Boomland. There's a lot of B's. So, is it obvious to you you're gonna need those parent functions handy in your notes?
So what?
The parent formulas.
Shut up.
You're gonna end up getting grounded from that again. Cause I'm gonna smash it. 15, write an equation for an ellipse. So first thing I'm gonna do is write my ellipse formula.
Didn't we just do,
Oh, did we? No, we just
no, we
did.
did 14.
Yeah.
Gosh, Tyler. Jeez.
Hey, at least he's trying to keep me on track. So an ellipse again, there's my formula. It's got a center at 1, -3. So x minus 1 squared over something plus y plus 3 squared over something. I don't know, sometimes I like to see what I'm looking at.
You can say why my
Cause it was -1, 3, did I do it right? It was 1, -3, yeah. Vertices at 1, 2. So, over 1, up 2. And 1, -8. vertices at 4. This is weird looking ellipse, isn't it? But maybe it's because I'm just estimating and not counting.
Will it be diagonal?
No.
Oh, that 4, I went to the left like it was -4. 4 is to the right.
That would be comfortable.
Oh, I didn't pick a marker down. And then -2, okay, so there's kind of an ellipse looking thing, finally. Alright, so what we need is how far from this point, which is x of, what is a 1, how far is it from 1 to here, which is -2. So from -1 to -2, how far is it?
1.
Well, something's not right, what did I do wrong?
The big width for
Okay, my center should be at 1, negative, so from 1 to -2 is what we're looking for.
From 1.
3.
From 1 to -2 is 3, so 3 squared is 9. Okay, now we're at from -3 to -8. How far is it? 5 squared is 25. Which guess what? It's big as in Moonland.
So if I don't know the answer, I'm gonna guess B because I heard a line.
Well, the study guide doesn't have the same answers. Last one, find the center and radius. Oh, this will be fast and easy. They give you the equation. So it's a circle, so opposite sign for my center, I think I wrote it wrong, no, I didn't, would be 1, -1. Square root of this would be my radius. So, that looks like D is in dynamite.
That was a fast one.
Yep, wish we had more of those, huh? Alright, you're gonna have to find all your formulas, especially the ones about the parabolas with the focus and the directrix. There were several of those 1/4p kinds of deals. Everybody good? Okie dokie.